All right, back on the record in the Simpson matter. Mr. Simpson is again present with his counsel, Mr. Shapiro, Mr. Cochran, Mr. Douglas, Mr. Bailey, people represented by Ms. Clark and Mr. Darden. The jury is not present. Counsel, anything we need to discuss before we resume with the jury? Mr. Shapiro.
Yes, Your Honor, briefly, please. Your Honor, once before we were confronted with a situation where alleged scientific results were presented in the media for public consumption before tests were done by the scientists themselves. And now we are confronted with a more serious problem. We are confronted with a problem where one of the prosecutors in this case has publicly announced to Your Honor on the record scientific results from spots 115, 116, and 117, and has told Your Honor that these stains have been identified as Mr. Simpson's. And once again, we are in the position that this statement is without any scientific basis, since regarding stains 115 and 116, they have yet to be tested. And regarding stain 117, the test that was completed
Not counting detectives.
No, well, let's count the detectives too. Let's count, they're all LAPD officers. Let's count everybody.
Probably 28.
Like 28 police officers. And basically, at this point, these 28 officers, at 6:35, the first call of the coroner had not gone out. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Criminalists had not been called.
I don't know that.
Well, let's look at this and let's see when, together at the log, when Fung was called.
I don't, that would only tell us when he arrived, sir. It wouldn't tell me when he called.
All right, well, that's okay. The counsel's absolutely correct, Your Honor. Let's look and see when Fung arrived.
Well, objection, Your Honor, that's only as Bundy.
Well, I want to see, I'm talking about Bundy at this point.
All right, overruled.
Talking about Bundy.
Yeah, there was another question on this witness. The counsel detective refreshes memory, there's no indication he ever knew. This is not the correct witness for this testimony.
All right, overruled. If he can refresh his recollection from this, yes or no?
Well, I believe the first time it shows him on the log is arriving at...
Wait. Do you know from your own recollection when the criminalist, Mr. Fung, arrived at the Bundy address?
No, I don't.
Does that refresh your recollection?
Only in what it says that he arrived.
No, I'm not asking you what the document says. I'm asking, does that refresh your recollection?
No.
All right, thank you. Next question.
Did Fung ever come while you were there till 10 o'clock that morning?
I saw Mr. Fung there during that daytime, yes.
No,
I do not know what time it was that I first saw him.
But you were there off times. You were there off and on during the day, right?
Yes, sir.
And you left, according to the log, by 10 o'clock a.m. to go someplace, right?
Yes.
Fung had not arrived at that point. Is that correct?
I don't recall seeing him.
All right. You saw him later in the day when you came back to the location. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Because the coroner came at about 9:10. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And when the coroner came, Fung was not there. Isn't that correct?
I don't know if Fung was there.
You don't remember seeing him, do you?
I don't remember seeing him.
All right. These 28 LAPD officers who were there, though, they had various and sundry responsibilities. Is that correct?
Most of them did.
In the course of the people that you talked to that morning, did you ever, either when you came back at 6:35 or earlier, talk to any of the officers there about trying to establish the time of death of these two bodies?
No, sir.
Now, when you came back that afternoon, did you see Miss Marsha Clark at the scene there? At Bundy or Rockingham? At Bundy?
I don't recall if I ever saw Miss Clark at the Bundy location. I believe I may have seen her at the Rockingham location.
No, would it refresh your recollection to look at the crime scene log regarding Bundy?
No, sir.
It won't refresh your recollection?
I don't recall seeing Marsha Clark at the Bundy location.
Do you ever recall seeing her there talking to Mark Furman outside?
At the Bundy location?
At Rockingham? Did you see her
As I
talking?
said, I saw her at the Rockingham location, not
Okay.
at the Bundy
All
location.
right. And what time was that you saw her at the Rockingham location?
I would have no idea of remembering that
Would it
time.
refresh your recollection to see the crime scene log regarding that?
No, it would not tell me what time I saw them.
All right, but you remember seeing her, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, do you know, although I know you were no longer the investigating officer in the case, how long that the Bundy location remained a crime scene before the tapes were taken down?
Yes, I think it was right around that. I'd have to look at the log to be sure, but I think it was around 3 to 3:50.
I forgot my last question.
I think we're talking about whether or not people checked in and out of the crime scene.
So, yes, when you were counting all of the names on the list, sir, that doesn't necessarily mean they were all there together at this, does that necessarily mean they were all there together at the same time?
No.
One, please.
All right, this is defense exhibit.
1027, Your Honor? Regarding this photograph, sir, do you recall that there was a palm tree at the front of the residence at 875 South Bundy?
Yes.
Now, the female who is in the white shirt, looking at this photograph, can you tell us whether she's standing out on the sidewalk or out on the grass?
Well, she's either on the sidewalk or the grass, because it appears that she's outside of that planted area that's right in front of her.
And the gentleman who's, let me use the laser. Can you see where I'm pointing with the laser, sir? See the gentleman whose shoulder is here?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell in this photograph whether he's standing on that walkway with the blood on it, or whether he's standing on the sidewalk area?
I can't be positive, but I'd say it looks like he's probably standing on the sidewalk.
We'll strike out that.
Overruled.
It looks to you like he's standing on the sidewalk, you said?
I object, that's legal suggestions.
What did you just say, sir?
You can't ask an answer then.
Overruled. Counsel can ask a clarifying question, especially when the witness is turned away, talking the other direction, which I didn't hear either.
What did you say, sir?
I said it appears as if he's standing on the sidewalk, but from this angle, I can't be sure exactly where he's standing.
This photograph, do you think it's a clear photograph in terms of the perspective of the crime scene?
Object to the form of that, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Criticizing the photograph.
Sustained.
All right. See
Maybe we
this
can
palm?
have some expert testimony from our telephoto lenses back here as to distortion by various lenses.
Well, let me ask you this. You were at the crime scene, right?
Yes,
And you know the distances between things, right?
roughly.
Does this comport with your memory of the distances that you saw when you were there between the gate, the sidewalk, the walkway, the palm tree?
You know, that's vague, and that's compound, and that's an unintelligible question.
You know, it is a compound question, and we did have a view of the scene by the jurors. They did view it for a significant period of time from across the street, and I think they know the perspectives. I think they took note of where the palm tree was.
I'd like to elicit some testimony, so I have something in the record, though, Your Honor, that I can refer back to later.
Well, you can refer back to the view of the scene.
But with respect to this particular time, I'd like to be able to ask some questions about this witness's memory, if I may.
That's true. It's also noon.
Can I ask one more question then before we break?
One more.
Thank you. You see these officers down here, sir?
Yes.
Where do they appear to be in relationship to the palm tree?
Again, the depth perception is very bad, but I'd say they were standing in front of the palm tree, probably somewhere around the curb or in the street itself.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the noon hour. Please remember my admonition to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves. Form any opinions about the case. Don't conduct any deliberations till the matter has been submitted to you. Don't allow anybody to communicate with you regarding the case. We'll see you back here at 1:30. Detective Phillips, you're excused. Order to return at 1:30.
Thank you.
All right. All right, back on the record in the Simpson matter. All right. All right, all the parties are again present. Counsel, anything we need to discuss before we invite the jurors to join us? All right, Deputy Magnaro, let's have the jurors, please. We've now been rejoined by all the members of our jury panel. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Detective Ronald Phillips is still on the witness stand. Good afternoon, Detective Phillips.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
You're reminded you're still under oath, and Ms. Clark, you may conclude your redirect.
Where was that picture? You recall we were talking about this photograph that was shown to you by the defense marked, I think, D1027?
Yes.
All right, I think when you left off, you were indicating that the police officer is shown in the right hand of the...
May I get down, Your Honor?
Yes. You were indicating that these police officers, I'm indicating with the laser light, you believe were standing either on the street or on the curb in front of the location?
Well, with depth perception.
I think that mistakes it. I think you can tell us what we say by recapitulating after lunch.
Overruled.
I think with the depth perception, it's very difficult to tell exactly where they're standing, but in relationship to the palm tree, I'd say they're either on the curb or possibly in the street, at least on this side of the walkway for sure.
And you indicated, let me ask you then, and this was the person that you indicated was where?
Well, I would say that person's on the other side of the palm tree, probably on the sidewalk area, but again, depth perception, I don't know if he's standing in the grass or on the sidewalk.
Hard to tell in this photograph, is it?
It's impossible to tell.
And this person here, you indicated, I think, on the cross-examination was the photographer, Rokar?
Yes.
And can you tell where he is? Whether he's in the shrubbery or on the sidewalk?
I can't tell where he's standing.
Now, this person is the photographer that took pictures at the crime scene?
Yes.
And does a photographer have to get, walk into the crime scene in order to take photographs of the evidence?
Object to the form of that question, not what do you have to do? That's a conclusion, speculation.
Sustain.
How does a photographer get into a crime scene how does a photographer get to take pictures of the evidence?
Well, as the evidence is presented, the detective in charge of the investigation will ask him to take certain photographs as the investigation is taking place. He'll stand in the area or stand outside the area until some evidence or something that the investigating officer wants to be photographed comes along, and then he'll call him in to photograph that particular piece of evidence or item, and then he'll back off again. He's at the ready to take photographs all along the crime scene.
So is this a person that has authority to be in the crime scene?
At the direction of the investigating officer, yes.
Okay. And then the person here that you indicated and here that you indicated are coroner's investigators?
Yes.
What do coroner investigators have to do with respect to the bodies?
Well, they have to prepare the bodies to be moved from the location. So they have to be in the area.
So do they have authority to be inside the crime scene?
Yes.
And what about this person here? You indicated Dennis Fung, the criminalist.
Yes.
What does a criminalist do at a crime scene?
Collect and book, prepare evidence. It's at a crime scene. Under the direction of an investigating officer or under his own direction as he goes along through the crime scene.
And does he have to be allowed into the crime scene in order to do that?
Yes.
So the four people that we see here, the photographer, the criminalist, the coroner's investigators that appear to be in the crime scene, all generally have authority to be there.
Yes, at the proper time.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead, have a seat. Now, who's permitted to touch the body or do anything associated closely with the body of a homicide victim?
Well, the coroner's office is the only one allowed to touch the body and actually go through the pockets of the body and pull anything out of the pockets or off the body of the deceased. Homicide detectives don't do that. We don't move the bodies until the coroner's office arrives, and they actually do the moving of the body.
And they're the only ones allowed to move the body, are they?
Yes.
Your Honor, can you cut this is the People's 46. People's.
Now, you see this scene as you've identified it before, is that right, sir?
Yes.
See the palm tree there?
Yes.
And that palm tree, does that appear to be in the same location as the one shown in the earlier photograph?
Yes.
So someone... That's all. Now let me ask you something, sir. You were shown a picture of a speed dialer inside of Nicole Brown's condominium, on which was marked Daddy.
Yes. Yes.
Could you tell if that Daddy referred to her father or the children's father?
It's called speculation.
If you can tell from the photograph. If he can tell from the photograph, but he said he'd never seen it before.
That's right, so it's
Right,
relevant
so-
true.
No, it's all right. If he can tell from the photograph. Can you tell from the photograph who Daddy is?
No, sir.
If you had known that that was Mr. Simpson's phone number, would you have dialed it?
No,
Why not?
because I wanted to try and make the notification in person.
Sir, when you went to Rockingham, how long did you intend to spend there?
Your Honor, I think that's
This is foundational, Your Honor.
Or will?
As short a time as possible. I mean, we went there.
his answer, Your Honor.
He hasn't...
Sustain. He asked him this question.
And you went there, why?
Well, I went there to make a notification and to assist Mr. Simpson if he needed any assistance whatsoever. I needed to have his children picked up at West LA Station. I was going to offer him that service. I was also going to ask him, or at least try to make efforts that he did not go to the Bundy location to see that scene.
Was it your intention to return to the Bundy scene?
After Rockingham?
Yes.
No.
Now, do you happen to know in this particular case whether the coroner's representatives stayed around after the bodies of Ron and Nicole were moved?
No, I don't.
Do you know the photograph shown to you by defense counsel, D1027? Do you recall that photograph, the one I just showed you before the last one?
Yes?
Do you know what time that picture was taken?
No, I don't.
All right, you indicated that you spoke to Kathy Randa on the telephone, sir?
I spoke to a Kathy. I don't know her last name.
Before you spoke to her, when you asked Arnell where her father was, and she told you that she didn't know, was that...
His personal objection was hearsay.
This is what he's already testified to, based upon his subsequent actions.
Hearsay was not clear.
He testified to it on direct and cross, Your Honor.
After he spoke to Arnell, what's the question?
I haven't been able to finish it.
What's the question? After he spoke to Arnell, what?
After you spoke to Arnell, and after you asked Arnell where her father was, and she told you she didn't know, did you go...
After he spoke to Arnell.
Okay. When... Your Honor, this is a subject matter he's testified to on direct and on cross before.
I realize that, but there's an objection at this point. He spoke to Arnell. Then
What did Arnell tell you about where her father was?
Seriously.
This explains subsequent conduct.
Overruled.
Arnell never told me where her father was.
What did she indicate to you?
Are you talking outside the house?
Yes,
Or
sir.
after we came inside the house?
Outside the house.
I asked her if she knew where her father was, and she made some gesture towards the house and said, "Isn't he in the house, or isn't he there?" I don't exactly recall what she said. And at that time, Phil Van Adder began talking to her, and I did not talk to her anymore.
Okay. And then inside the house, did you have further conversation with her about where her father was?
I asked her if she could find out where her father was at, and she told me that Kathy, his secretary, would know where her father was at, and that she would call her.
And then she made a phone call?
Yes?
And then you spoke to Kathy, is that what you testified to earlier?
Yes?
When you spoke to Kathy, did you tell her the defendant's ex-wife had been killed?
I believe I mentioned, not to Kathy, no.
All right, and then you indicated that you called the defendant in Chicago.
Yes?
Now, after you advised him that his ex-wife had been killed, you indicated on cross-examination that he said, "What do you mean she's been killed? Oh my God, Nicole is dead." You recall that testimony?
Yes?
Was there any pause between his question, "What do you mean she's been killed?" and "Oh my God, Nicole is dead"?
Object to the form of that question. Pause. You've already described this for us. I object to the form of this question. It's improper.
Your Honor, I object to counsel speaking objections.
Overruled.
He became upset, made that statement, and then he continued to be upset and continued to talk on the telephone to himself. And it took me several seconds to get him to talk to me again, to have him listen to me. He seemed very, very upset.
Was there any pause after the question, after this statement, "What do you mean she's been killed"?
No?
Did you have an opportunity to offer any information or interject?
Object to the form of that question.
Overruled.
No.
And did he ever repeat, "What do you mean she's been killed" after that one time?
No, he just kept repeating over and over again that Nicole had been killed.
Did he ever ask about the children before you brought up that subject, about where they were?
No, eventually when I got his attention again is when I mentioned the children, and you have to remember this conversation took place very quickly. He was talking and I was talking, and everybody was a little bit excited.
But you were the one who brought up the children first.
Well, I told him, I says, "Mr. Simpson, try to get a hold of yourself. I have your children at the police station."
Okay. And at that point, he asked you, "Why are they at the station?"
Yes?
And was it after that point that he told you he'd take the next flight?
Yes?
And you then, at some point, you offered him your pager number. Yes, you testified. When was that?
That was towards the end of the conversation when I said, "If you need something, take my pager number down and my office number down and give me a call if I can do anything for you." And then when I got back to the station later on that day, there was a message that he had called.
So he did take your pager number down when you gave it to him.
I'll object to that, sure. That assumes the fact that I never.
Sustained.
But after you gave the pager number, he did in fact page you.
As I said, I gave him my pager number and my office number. He did not page me. He called me at the office, left a message through the desk personnel at the office, and that's the pink slip I got as a message that Mr. Simpson had called. He did not call me on my pager.
Okay. And was it after... And did his request to speak to Arnell conclude your conversation?
Yes, I did not talk to him again.
Now, counsel was showing you your report. I'm going to show you... Let's see. I believe Mr. Cochran ended at the end of page 1. Let's go on to page 2. At the end of their report, ask you to read that.
To himself.
Yes. As he's doing.
Yes. I didn't do that.
All right, at the end of your report, sir, what did you put down?
Object, Your Honor. Please read the report and testify.
Sustain.
It is what necessary properly.
It's hearsay. Sustain.
It's also been asked and answered. It's also
It has not been
No.
asked and answered, Your
I've
Honor.
already sustained it as hearsay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sir, did you... When you informed the defendant that his ex-wife had been killed, did you say she had been murdered?
No, I said she'd been killed.
Did he ask you if it was in a traffic accident?
Object, this has been covered in direct examination, it's improper redirect examination, and it's irrelevant material if we ask about a traffic accident. And this is improper, redirect examination.
Overruled.
No.
And did you find that to be unusual, sir?
Object to that, Your Honor, that's unusual. Object to that, there's no standard.
Sustain.
All right. Have you made any notifications to next
Excuse
of...
me, counsel, we're getting a little sloppy on the speaking objections on both sides here. So trust me, on both sides. So at this point, make your objection, state one of 12 recognized legal grounds to object. I'll rule. If I need an explanation, I'll ask for it. Thank you. Proceed.
How many notifications of death have you made to next of kin in your years as a police officer and detective?
I don't know, far too many, I'm sure. Couple hundred.
And was it common in your experience for next of kin to ask questions about how the homicide had occurred?
Object to the form of the question as to what, object to the form of that question, Your Honor, and I would be glad to embellish it.
Overruled. You can answer that question, yes or no.
The question again, please.
Is it common in your experience for the next of kin to ask questions as to how the death occurred?
It usually occurs that way, yes.
And so did you find the defendant's response to be unusual
Object
in
to
your
that,
experience?
I object to the form of that question, Your Honor.
Sustain. Calls for speculation.
His belief about his own...
Let me just talk to you briefly without the reporter.
Still a sidebar.
I know.
Sidebar, Your Honor.
I know. Give me just 2 seconds here.
Sure.
Ms. Clark.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Sir, did anyone, while you were at Rockingham that morning, did anyone tell you what time the defendant actually left for the airport?
No.
I think you testified earlier that Kathy told you that he took a red-eye flight.
That's correct.
And that was when you were on the telephone,
Yes.
but no specific time was mentioned to you?
No, she just said he took a red-eye to Chicago the night before.
Did she tell you what airline?
I don't believe she did.
Okay. Now, after she told you that, did you go out and tell somebody that the defendant had taken a red-eye flight to Chicago?
Didn't tell him that she'd taken a red-eye flight, no.
What did you say?
Just said I'd made contact and talked to Mr. Simpson in Chicago.
Now, sometime after that telephone conversation, you stated that you were in the breakfast room of the location and that Detective Mark Furman came to see you.
Yes?
How long after the telephone conversation was that?
Five minutes, no more than 10 minutes, somewhere in that area.
Okay. Was he anywhere near you when you were having the telephone conversation?
No.
He came walking in from the outside. Was that what you testified to?
Yes.
When you made contact with him, did you tell him that you just heard the defendant took a red-eye flight to Chicago?
No.
What was your conversation with him when you saw him in the breakfast room?
He wanted to talk to me. He wanted to show me something, so I went with him and he showed me what he wanted to show me. It was basically his conversation explaining to me what he had found.
And did you tell him anything about your conversation with Kathy?
I may have mentioned to him that I made contact with Mr. Simpson. I suppose that might have happened, but that would have just been in passing.
Just that you talked to him?
I'm sure I told everybody there at some time or another that I'd made contact with him.
And, sir, did you make note in your report of the defendant's reaction to the notification call you made to the defendant in Chicago?
Yes?
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Mr. Cochran.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor. Detective Phillips, with regard to the photographs of the shoes that we saw of the various detectives, were your shoes also photographed?
No.
And were Detective Furman's shoes photographed?
No.
Were Phillips or Van Adder's shoes photographed?
No.
And I believe I asked you this, but did you have the shoe sizes of any of these officers at all?
No, sir.
And these shoes were photographed at West LA Station?
Yes, sir. It was done in an interview room in West LA Station, and most of them were done with the officer wearing the shoe and just putting his foot up onto a table.
Do you have a log indicating what days those shoes were photographed on?
No, as I said, it occurred over several days, 3 or 4 days, because the officers have days off, and there were several officers to do, so I just put a list down in the watch commander's office that when you come to work, come see Detective Phillips.
Is it true that most officers have at least 2 pair of shoes?
I have no idea.
How many? You didn't wear uniforms very much back then, but when you last wore a uniform, did you have more than 2 pairs of department-issue shoes?
No, I've only had 1 pair of uniform shoes at a time.
All right, if one of the officers who testified here, for instance, Risky, indicated he had 2 pairs of shoes, was there any memo ever given to the officers that to take a picture of the shoes you were wearing on June 12th or June 13th?
I asked every officer that came up if they had the shoes on that they wore on June 12th to June 13th. And I believe every one of them had the same shoes on.
But these officers had continued, as far as you know, had continued to wear these shoes for whatever period of time before they took the photographs, which we saw. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
In other words, they weren't all taken the same day. Some were taken within a week. Is that correct?
Over a period of 3, 4 days, 5 days, maybe even.
Now, you said that in response to one of Ms. Clark's questions that it is unusual to have a double homicide in the Brentwood area. Is that correct?
I think it is, yes.
And in the time you've been out there working in homicide, you've had obviously a number of homicides out in that area also, have you not?
Yes.
And you've had some double homicides out there also, have you not?
I don't recall. Well, we've had murder-suicides where one person kills somebody and then kills themselves, and that would be a murder-suicide, but that's...
Well, you've had cases where you've had two bodies, and you had to investigate it and make a determination, right?
Yeah, murder-suicide.
Okay, that'd be two bodies, right?
Yes, sir.
At least two.
That would
All
not
right.
be a double homicide.
All right. And in that connection, when you talked to the coroner's office, there was nothing which prohibited you from saying, we have a double homicide, I'm going to call you back later, all I want to do is get some numbers and give you the first call. You didn't have to say, we have a double homicide in Brentwood and it involves O.J. Simpson, did you?
Well, they asked me what I had, and I told them I had a double homicide, and because I would have told them if I hadn't had a double homicide, I would have told them I had a murder-suicide.
All right. But the point I was asking you, there was no requirement in your regulations for you to say that you had a double homicide involving O.J. Simpson's ex-wife, was it?
There is nothing.
Now, that's something you volunteered, isn't that correct?
Yes, yes, it is.
And would you agree with me by your saying that that tended to exacerbate the interest in this case, at least in behalf of Mr. Willis, who you shared this information with?
Well, that was a two-edged sword. It was going to come back to haunt me either way.
Right? But we don't know how it would have been if you hadn't told him, do we?
No, we don't.
Because you told him, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
All right. Now, on this job that these officers work in West Los Angeles, we're not going to ask you the job, but this was a moonlighting job that a number of officers worked on in West Los Angeles. Is that correct?
No,
Well, some officers worked on it.
just Mark Furman and I myself, I believe, were the only ones from West Los Angeles that worked up there.
There are other officers who work there, though?
Yes, sir.
All right. Other LAPD officers, I mean.
I believe they're LAPD, I believe they're LASO,
Sheriffs.
I believe there's some retired from other jurisdictions also,
How'd you find out about that job?
through a mutual friend.
All right. And then you went, did you go first, or did Detective Furman go first?
I believe that the individual who got us the job took over a situation that already existed, and there was several of us all hired at the same time, maybe 10 or 15 of us all hired at the same time, the same night, as far as going to an orientation, and then we started our shifts. So I think we all started at the same time, and I'm not positive Mark Furman was in that initial group, but he probably could have been.
If he was not in the initial group, did you tell him about this particular position?
No, he also knows the same individual.
All right. So you both knew about it, and you both started working on this job, and you worked for approximately a year on that job at least, right?
Yes.
All right. Now, it's true, is it not, sir, that pursuant to the Los Angeles Police Department homicide manual, evidence should be booked as soon as possible, and under no circumstances should evidence be retained by a particular detective in the course of that investigation. Isn't that true?
Well, I wouldn't know what circumstances you were talking about. Each detective handles his own cases his own way.
Well, you wouldn't want to, and you're, as an experienced LAPD detective, you wouldn't carry evidence home, would you, that you picked up at a scene?
Cede the scope. Cede the scope, we'll redirect.
I would ask the court to allow me just for this one question to ask that question, Your Honor. Counsel opened with regard to the shoes.
Sustain.
Now, with regard to, you were asked some questions about Special Order Number 21. And again, you've never had occasion to speak with Chief Willie Williams about that particular order, have you?
No, I have not.
And the background or his reason for issuing it?
No, I have not.
And in that order, in several places, it talks about the coroner being immediately notified, does it not?
Yes.
Would you agree with me that for the coroner to arrive at a scene 9 hours after the discovery of bodies, if that is not immediate under any stretch of the imagination?
Objection, that's all you meant.
Or will, he can answer.
It would depend on the circumstances that led up to that, sir. Each homicide case has its own set of circumstances which dictate time, dictate what we do and how things are done. Each case is a story of its own.
I understand
They're
that.
not all the same.
I understand that. Would you agree with me that 9 hours is not immediate? Would you agree with that?
9 hours is not immediate as far as taking the bodies away from a crime scene, no.
All right, thank you. You have no recollection at all of whether or not the ice cream in this cup you saw on that banister was vanilla or strawberry or chocolate chip cookie dough, do you?
I have no idea what that ice cream was, sir.
And you've never seen a picture of it, do you? Have you?
No, sir.
Now, with regard to just a question or two regarding Defendant's 1027. Put that back there. In Defendant's 1027, you're not able to see in Defendant's 1027 where that yellow tape is, can you?
No, sir.
And as I understand it, were you able to identify this person? Pick it there, you can step down if you can. Were you able to identify that lady, that appears to be a lady there in the foreground with the white blouse or shirt on?
I do not know who that person is.
Do you know the name of an LAPD trainee criminalist by the name of Mazzola, M-A-Z-Z-O-L-A?
I don't believe I've ever met that person, sir.
Did you see a female by the name of Mazzola at that scene that morning with Fung?
Objection. He said he's never heard.
I'm asking if he saw a female. Let me
He
ask
said
this
by
way.
the name of Mazzola.
Well, let me
Yes, he
strike
did.
by the name of Mazzola.
All right.
Did you see a female accompanying Fung at the scene that morning, either at Rockingham or at Bundy?
No.
Now, lest we give coroners a bad name, the coroner's office is not just a body removal service for the police department, are they?
No, they're not.
In fact, the Los Angeles County coroner has an independent obligation to conduct their own investigation regarding the time of death. Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
And we are dealing with specially trained individuals who have an expertise in seeking to determine the time of death with regard to bodies. Isn't that correct? Now, overall. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And the coroner's office, in your 28 years, you know that the coroner's office can assist in determining the time of death, and generally coroners do come to court and testify. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
They also assist in determining the cause of death. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
They also assist in determining the type of weapons, the number of weapons used in a particular incident. Isn't that correct? Just a few more questions.
I'm going to allow a little leeway here.
Thank you.
Yes.
And in the course of their investigation, they can also assist in the identity of perpetrators on occasion. Is that correct?
They can help to assist in that, yes.
And in addition to the coroner's office, the criminalists also play a vital role in retrieving evidence quickly before it starts to break down or degrade and become any way affected by the elements. Isn't that correct?
I'm not a criminalist, sir.
All right, but you've used criminalists throughout your career, have you
Yes.
not? And you know it's important to get the criminalists out there early to collect the evidence. Isn't that right?
Get a criminalist out there to collect the evidence is why we bring them out, yes.
That's right. And that's what presumably Fung is doing there in Defendant's 1027. Isn't that correct?
I would assume that's what he's doing.
And with regard to 1027 and those photographs, You're not an expert in photographs, are you?
No, sir.
And when you were being asked all those questions about where people were standing, you're just giving us your best estimate, isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
In the final analysis, that photograph speaks for itself, isn't that right?
Objection, this is argumentative.
Sustained.
Well, that's probably correct, Your Honor. I'll withdraw it.
Thank you.
But our guess is as good as yours regarding that photograph, isn't that correct?
Objection.
Where people were standing?
Sustained. That's argumentative as well.
All right, Your Honor.
Maybe we'll have one of our experts from the back row tell us what that is.
You generally want the criminalists on the scene quickly to ensure that no evidence has been moved. Isn't that correct?
You want the criminals on the scene as soon as you're ready for them to conduct whatever the job is you're asking them to do.
As soon as possible, right?
As soon as you want them on, as soon as possible.
And in this case, the criminalists came after the coroners came, right?
As I previously stated, sir, I don't know when the criminalists came.
Yeah, I
But
think
okay.
we're beyond the scope.
You may be right, Your Honor, in that regard. Now, lastly, with regard to the phone conversation to Mr. Simpson in Chicago, that was the reason why you went over to his house. Is that correct?
Yes?
This was a phone conversation of no more than 1 minute. Is that correct?
I didn't go there to make a phone conversation. I
Well,
went
to
there to
make
make a
notification.
notification, yes.
To him, right?
Yes.
And in the course of this, you've described for us that Mr. Simpson said to you, "What do you mean she's killed?" Recall that?
Yes?
And in the course of that, you've described for us that Mr. Simpson was very upset. Isn't that correct?
Yes?
That you had to try as best you could to try and calm him down and get him back to where he was, where he could be coherent on the phone. Isn't that correct?
So we could continue a conversation, yes.
All right. Because you were trying to give him information. Isn't that correct?
Yes?
And you're not sure as you sit here now at what point you actually mentioned the kids or his children. Isn't that correct?
When I got him back on track and told him that I needed to talk to him and to calm down, that's when I told him, I says, "We have your kids at the police station."
All right. And after you got him to calm down so that you could make your statement, he then said, "What about my kids? Why are they at a police station?" Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
No. He responded to what you asked about the children. Isn't that correct?
He asked me why we had his children at the police station.
And it was shortly after that, was it not, that he then asked to speak to his daughter, and arrangements were made to pick up those children. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
And you never asked him to come back to Los Angeles. He volunteered to come back on his own. Isn't that correct?
Told me he was coming back on his own, yes.
And you described for us, I think graphically, that this was a short conversation. Isn't that correct?
Yes?
And everybody was very excited. Isn't that correct?
Well, yeah, I think so.
And you were excited?
I think so.
Mr. Simpson was excited?
I think so.
Arnell was excited?
Yes?
Well, objection, misstates the evidence. I know about part of their conversation.
Oh,
Arnell was excited?
Well, I could tell she was upset.
She was crying.
Behind me, she was talking to Detective Lang.
Thank you very
Excited,
much.
or,
Thank you. You will not be upset if I don't ask you any more questions?
no, sir.
Okay, well, thank you. I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Ms. Clark?
Detective Phillips, why were there no photographs taken of the shoes of the 4 detectives? That is yourself, Detective Furman, Van Adder, and Lang.
Because the request I received from Detective Lang was to take photographs of officers that arrived at that location that had gone around that crime scene location before the detective showed up.
By the time you got there, you saw the bloody shoe prints, they were already there?
Yes.
Here comes 3.
Let me see if my eminent partner can talk me out of it. 1 second.
Anything as to shoe prints, shoe photos?
No, Your Honor. Thank you, Detective Phillips, remain until they have called.
Yes. All right, Detective Phillips, I'm going to excuse you for the afternoon. However, you remain subject to recall. All right, thank you very much. Good afternoon, sir. All right, Ms. Clark, your next witness, please.
Yes, the people call Detective Tom Lang.
All right, Mr. Lang. Ms. Clark, your next witness, please.
Yes, the people call Detective Tom Lang.
All right, Mr. Lang.
Raise your right hand, please. You do solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in the cause found in this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please have a seat. Your witness stand and state spell your first and last names for the record.
Tom Lang, T-O-M-L-A-N-G-E, also known as Frederick, F-R-E-D-E-R-I-C-K.
Do people also call you Frederick?
That's one of my names, yes.
I never knew. All right, sir, if you would, please tell us, what is your current assignment?
I'm a police detective for the City of Los Angeles, assigned to Robbery Homicide Division, Homicide Special Section.
Can you tell us how long you've been so assigned?
I've been with Robbery Homicide Division since November of 1978. I've been a police officer since 1967, October.
And how many years have you been a detective?
Been a detective approximately 21 years.
Now, you're currently a detective, aren't you?
Yes.
But you're a detective with the Robbery Homicide Division. Were you previously a detective before you were at the Robbery Homicide Division?
Yes.
What kind of detective were you?
I was a juvenile detective, a robbery detective, and a homicide detective.
And how long were you a robbery detective?
Approximately 1 year.
And how long were you a homicide detective before you went to Robbery Homicide Division?
Approximately 3 years.
Now, is Robbery Homicide Division a different kind of set of detectives than the regular homicide detective you were before?
Yes, robbery, homicide special unit that I'm assigned to takes usually high priority cases or cases that consume a great deal of time, very involved cases such as serial killings, high publicity type cases.
Now, can you tell us, sir, then what are your duties specifically in the Robbery Homicide Division as a detective?
Well, I'm a homicide detective. I investigate homicides, generally of a high priority nature, high profile nature, serial killings. Additionally, we back up the 18 geographical divisions in the city when their workload becomes such that they can't handle it.
And when you say can't handle it, what do you mean by that?
Well, when they become inundated with a great number of homicides, if one particular division were to have and what might be considered an inordinate number of homicides in one weekend, say 8, 10, or 12, and they just didn't have the people to handle those properly, then we would probably be called in to take some of those.
Now, at what point were you assigned to this particular case?
I was notified at home at 3 a.m., approximately 3 a.m. on June 13th.
And at what time did you arrive at 875 South Bundy?
At approximately 4:25 a.m.
Can you tell us where exactly at that location you parked your car?
Yes, I parked on Bundy, on the east side of Bundy, south of Dorothy.
Exhibit number 49. Please.
All right, so do you see the location in the photograph on the monitor right now?
Yes.
Do you recognize that location?
Yes, it appears to be looking in a northwesterly direction from Dorothy to the intersection of Dorothy and Bundy.
Can you locate the position in which you parked your car?
Stipulate that he parked with Dorothy and Bundy, and we can move on.
May I please examine the witness? Thank
Just
you.
out of curiosity, is where he parked his car important?
The location of all of the officers, I think, is going to be important, Your Honor.
All right, proceed.
Thank you. Can you locate where you parked your car in this photograph, sir?
Yes, it would be to the left of the photograph on Bundy. Off of the picture. You can't see it in this particular photograph.
Do you have another one?
People's Exhibit number 50.
Can you tell us the location we're looking at in this photograph, Your Honor? Your Honor. Detective. Oh, the court's been there, maybe.
I've been there, I could tell
You
you.
can tell us.
This is looking north on Bundy, and the directly in the middle here, I guess, would be Dorothy from left to right, and this photograph appears to be taken from the south side of Dorothy.
And is it on Bundy?
It's on Bundy, yes.
Would you have parked your car to the left of, to the right of this photograph as you face it?
Yes,
Now, you can see the crime scene tape in that photograph, sir?
yes.
Did you find it in that manner when you arrived at the scene at 4:25?
Yes.
Can you tell us if you examined the crime scene tape as it was placed when you arrived at the scene?
If I examine the tape,
Yeah, not with a magnifying glass, but the placement of the tape when you arrived there.
I observed the placement, yes.
Can you tell us if you made any determination as to whether you were pleased with the way it was placed?
Please, that's relevant material.
Overruled.
I was satisfied in my mind that the crime scene was indeed secured by what I saw, yes.
So after you parked your car, what'd you do?
I approached the intersection, walking through the intersection to the vicinity of the black and white that you see in the center of the photograph, where I was met by Lieutenant Rogers, my officer in charge of my unit, and Detective Van Adder, Detective Phillips, and Detective Furman.
Did you have a conversation with them, sir?
Yes, I did.
And what was the first thing that you did when you got there?
Well, after approaching Detective Van Adder, I was introduced to Detective Phillips and Detective Furman. Detective Van Adder stated to me that
Sustained.
You said you were introduced to Detectives Phillips and Furman.
yes,
You'd never met them before?
that's correct.
Did you have a conversation then with Detective Van Adder?
Yes.
And based on that conversation you had with him, what did you do?
I proceeded with Detective Phillips to the southbound on Bundy to Dorothy, westbound on Dorothy to the alleyway behind 875 South Bundy. We entered the alleyway and approach the rear of the location. Detective Phillips is going to give me a walkthrough of the crime scene.
People's Exhibit number 38.
Do you recognize what's shown in that photograph, sir?
Yes, that's the alleyway looking north from Dorothy towards 875 Bundy, which would be on the right side, the rear of that location.
And you see the crime scene tape in that photograph?
Yes,
Is that the manner in which you found it when you arrived?
yes.
Was there anyone guarding that crime scene tape, that perimeter boundary?
Yes, there was a uniformed officer at the alleyway.
When you got to that crime scene tape with Detective Phillips, did you have any conversation with that officer that was guarding the perimeter?
No, I believe we displayed our identification and leaned underneath the tape and proceeded up the alley.
And before you did that, though, you showed your identification to him?
Yes.
All right, then what did you do?
We approached the rear of the location, Detective Phillips and I, and began to enter the garage that was open at the rear of that location. As we did so, Detective Phillips pointed out a black Jeep, a vehicle that was parked in the driveway, and mentioning something to the effect that the vehicle belonged to one of the victims who lived at the location.
People's Exhibit number 71.
Sir, do you recognize what's shown in that photograph?
Yes, it appears to be the black Jeep that I spoke of.
And then you indicated there was another car?
Yes, there was a Ferrari, white Ferrari parked inside the garage.
Okay. And you see that in this photograph, sir?
Yes,
Is this the position in which you found these vehicles when you arrived at the scene at approximately 4:25?
yes.
You want to make this next photograph be marked People's Next in order of People's number 73?
May I see it?
Oh,
May I see this photograph?
Yes. 74.
Make it lighter? Can you make it lighter? Let's put it on the Elmo.
One, please.
Can you tell us if you recognize what you see in this photograph, sir?
Yes, that's the white Ferrari I mentioned, parked in the garage, and that's the rear entrance, rear door of the location to the rear of 875 South Bundy, and that's looking in a easterly direction.
Okay. Is this the path that you, well, did you go into the condominium through the garage, sir?
Yes, this is the pathway that I entered with Detective Phillips and entered the rear.
And at the front end of the Ferrari, what is that? Is that a doorway?
That's the doorway that leads into the rear of the residence.
Is that the one you walked through, sir?
Yes.
I see stairs now that we're getting a close-up view. Are there stairs when you first walk in?
Yes.
Tell us what you saw when you went in through that door, sir, went up the stairs.
I entered up the stairs, and to the left was a banister on which I observed a Ben & Jerry's ice cream cup. It was pointed out to me by Detective Phillips. To me, it appeared to be melted or melting. I asked Detective Phillips if that had been observed earlier. He stated
Hearsay.
Sustained.
He gave you some information about the observations of the first officer on the scene.
yes.
Did you observe what kind of ice cream that was?
No.
Have you since attempted to determine what kind of ice cream that was?
Yes.
Did you?
I believe I have.
Overruled at this point. What's the next question?
That was it.
I believe I have. All right, thank you.
All right, did you ask, did you try to determine whether or not that observation had been written down or documented in any way?
Yes.
And what did you do in that regard, sir?
I requested of Detective Phillips that he have the officer who originally observed the ice cream to document what he'd observed in his report.
What'd you do next?
I proceeded up the stairs behind Detective Phillips to the first level, where we proceeded east through the kitchen area, through the dinette area, to a point where I was at the front door of the residence. As I began to go through the front door, I was stopped by Detective Phillips, who stated to me,
Check. Hearsay. It's non-responsive. It's also hearsay.
All right, next question.
Did Detective Phillips tell you something, sir?
yes.
Okay, based on what he told you, what did you do?
I stepped through the doorway behind him and proceeded east along a walkway to a point above the two bodies of the victims.
Now, before you did that, sir, did you walk through the kitchen area?
Yes.
Did you notice anything, did anything draw your attention in the kitchen area?
Yes, I observed a kitchen knife on a counter, kitchen counter.
And at some point, did you cause photographs to be taken of that?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I display that photograph may be marked People's next in order, People's number 75.
Had been shown to counsel.
People 75.
You recognize what you see here, sir?
Yes. That appears to be the knife.
That you were just describing to us?
Yes.
And is that in the location and condition in which you found it?
Yes.
Close up.
Your Honor, may I display a photo, maybe marked People's Next Door, People 76.
People 76.
Again, sir, can you tell us if you recognize what's in that photograph?
Yes, that's a close-up photograph of that knife.
And is that the condition and the position in which you found it?
Yes.
Can you tell us whether the knife looked bloody to you?
Did not.
How did it look?
It looked clean.
Now, as of the area of the kitchen, the portion of the house that you walked through at that point, did you see any evidence of ransacking
No.
or disturbance,
None.
struggle?
None.
Did you see any blood?
I think that the objection that...
Objection to speaking objections, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Objection, and I'll be glad to embellish.
Overruled. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you see any blood in the condominium, sir, at that point?
No.
Or bloody shoe prints?
No.
As you walked out of the kitchen, did you make any observation of the living room?
Yes.
And what was that?
What was that?
What was the observation you made of the living room?
The living room was to the east of the entrance, and I observed several candles on the living room table burning. Off to the right, the living room kind of sinks down off to the east of the location.
And then where did you go?
Proceeded through the front door with behind Detective Phillips.
Was the front door open or closed when you got to it?
It was wide open.
Did you receive any information from Detective Phillips as to what position the door was found by the first officer on the scene?
Yes.
Correct. Did you receive that information?
Yes, Your Honor.
Next question.
Now, before you actually stepped outside, did you have a conversation with Detective Phillips?
Yes.
And before you stepped outside, did Detective Phillips point anything out to you?
Yes, he did.
What was it he pointed out to you before you stepped outside the door?
He stopped me as I was going through the door and said, "Be very careful."
Just a moment, Seriously, non-responsive.
Non-responsive.
That's not hearsay, though.
No, it's non-responsive. It's what he pointed out, not what he told me.
Thank you, Your Honor.
He pointed out what appeared to me to be bloody shoe prints.
Okay. And did he tell you something with respect to those bloody shoe prints?
Yes, he said that
Just a moment. Yes, is the answer.
Correct.
What did he tell you?
Object. Hearsay.
It's not going to be offered for the truth of the matter, Your Honor.
Hearsay relevant material, then.
Sounds like hearsay to me, unless you want to embellish at the sidebar.
No. No.
Wait. Let me-
Based upon counsel's representation, I withdraw an objection to the question, so we don't have to have a sidebar.
That's
Thank
right.
you.
What did Detective Phillips say to you, sir?
Detective Phillips stated to me that there were bloody shoe prints on the walkway, along with blood droplets, to be very careful where I stepped. And at that point, he pointed towards them from right to left.
And were you using your flashlights at that point, sir?
There was a porch light on right above the front entrance. At that point, no, I had my flashlight with me, but there was sufficient light at the doorway where I didn't need one.
So was there enough light for you to be able to see to avoid the evidence?
Yes.
What did you do next?
I proceeded behind Detective Phillips eastbound on the walkway to a point on the stoop just above the two victims.
Now, first of all, when you walked east, did you just say that you saw bloody shoe prints?
I observed what I believed to be, what appeared to be bloody shoe prints, and I observed two separate, what appeared to be blood drops.
Now, in what location was that with respect to the relationship between the front door and the bodies of the victims?
In regards to the blood droplets,
Right.
as one proceeds east along the walkway, there are, I believe, two steps going down just east of the doorway, and there was a droplet more or less in the center of the walkway, just east of those two steps. And as one would proceed east, there was an additional droplet that appeared on the walkway just north of the northeast corner of the residence.
Okay.
Understand?
I think so. Okay. Let's.
Your Honor, can you cut the for this photo? This is People's Exhibit number 35.
That's all right, Jonathan. Okay, you indicated you saw then, were these two blood droplets separate, sir?
Yes.
All right. And you saw a bloody shoe print? Where in relationship to those two blood drops did you see the bloody shoe print you've indicated?
I saw what appeared to be bloody shoe prints moving westerly. The blood droplets were to the south of or towards the building of the shoe prints.
Then did you walk to one side of that evidence, sir?
Ms. Levy suggested, you can tell us where you are. That's leaving.
Mildly bleeding.
Okay.
How did you walk?
Okay. Where did you walk?
I walked to the right as you're going east, or to the south side of those shoe prints.
And did you stop at some point?
Yes, I stopped at a point on the landing above the two victims.
Now, was that your first view of the crime scene, sir?
Yes,
Was Detective Phillips with you?
yes.
Did he point out anything with respect to one of the victims?
Yes, he did.
Now, did you receive some information concerning the identity of one of the victims?
Yes.
And what was that information?
That the victim was believed to be Nicole Brown Simpson, the former wife of O.J. Simpson.
All right, now, Jonathan, can you please cut the feed, Your Honor?
People's Exhibit number
35. Can you tell us if you recognize what you're seeing here, sir?
Yes.
And tell us how.
This is a photograph looking down from my approximate position that I testified to in a northeasterly direction towards the victim, Simpson.
And is this the view that you had from approximately from the top of the landing where you stood with Detective Phillips?
Yes.
Can you tell us, sir, is that the position in which you saw her, Ms. Nicole Brown, when you appeared at the scene?
Yes.
And from that position, were you also able to see the body of Ron Goldman?
Yes.
Were you able to see any evidence from that position, sir?
Yes.
And what were you able to see?
I observed a white envelope in the dirt between the two victims. I observed what appeared to be a dark brown or black leather-appearing glove, and appeared to be a blue knit cap in the dirt area near the feet of victim Goldman.
Now, the lighting in that particular area where you saw that evidence of the glove and the cap, can you describe it for us?
There was no direct lighting on that particular area. There was basically indirect lighting.
Was it dark in that area?
Yes.
Without the aid of your, well, let me ask you this. Were you using your flashlight to see the glove and the cap, sir?
Yes.
Without the aid of your flashlight, were you able to see that evidence?
I could probably make out a form, but I perhaps couldn't identify what it was.
Was there a plant near that evidence, sir?
Yes.
And where was it in relationship to that plant, the evidence?
The glove and the knit cap were beneath the leaves of the plant.
Okay, what did you do next?
I proceeded with Detective Phillips west on the walkway, observing other, what I believe to be bloody shoe prints moving in a westerly direction, back west towards the front door, to a point just before the front door where it appeared to me that the bloody shoe prints did a bit of a turnaround back east. I continued walking westerly on the walkway, observing the bloody shoe prints through a small gate that led to a stairwell. The shoe prints led down the stairwell. Along the way, I observed two other, what I believe to be blood droplets to the left of or the south of those shoe prints. I continued to proceed west on the walkway to a rear gate where I observed what appeared to me to be additional blood. Proceeded through that gate that led out into the carport area of the rear alley of the residence, where I observed an additional, what appeared to be a blood droplet on the driveway just east of the alley, and that would be just north of the black Jeep that I mentioned earlier.
Now, you said that you saw the bloody shoe prints at one point before you get to the front door, as they proceeded towards the rear alley. Do what appeared to be almost a turnaround. Did they turn completely to the east?
I don't recall it appearing to be a complete turnaround. It appeared to be a partial.
And was it in front of the front door, sir?
No, I believe it was east of the front door.
So it was some point before you get to the front door, if you're proceeding from the bodies to the rear alley.
That's my recollection, yes.
And were there any bloody shoe prints that were angled in towards the front door?
No.
At the area of the front door, did you see any bloody shoe prints at all?
The only shoe prints I saw there appeared to walk right by the door, going westerly on the walkway.
Going
West- Right by the front door, yes.
and towards the rear gate?
Yes.
All right, when you got to the rear gate, was it open or closed, sir?
It was partially opened, I'd say perhaps halfway or so.
Can you recall at this point at what point the shoe prints faded out?
To me, they appeared to fade out as they reached the bottom steps of the stairwell that I mentioned, which is approximately midway between the front and rear gates.
When you got to the rear gate, did Detective Phillips point anything out to you?
Yes.
And what was that?
Pointed out what appeared to be a blood transfer or smear on the upper rung of the gate, and what appeared to be two droplets of blood on the lower inside rung of the rear gate.
And you were able to see those, were you, sir?
Yes.
All right. And when you got out to the rear driveway, you indicated that you saw the blood droplets and the change in the rear driveway.
I don't believe I indicated change. I did observe coins at that location, however, in the vicinity of what appeared to be a blood droplet.
Okay. And who pointed that out to you, or did you see that on your own?
Detective Phillips pointed it out.
Now, why was it that you were going with Detective Phillips? Why didn't you just walk there yourself?
There was evidence throughout, and I certainly didn't want to destroy evidence or walk in the wrong place. These things needed to be pointed out to me so that I would know where to step as he guided me on a walkthrough.
Is that common procedure, sir?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, I have here a box that appears to be sealed at this time. For the record, I'm going to break the seal for the purpose of having Detective Lang identify some evidence for us.
All right. Do you want a knife or a scissor?
Possibility that
Are we leaving at 3 o'clock today? We quitting at 3, did you say?
As far as the jury is concerned, yes.
There's probably a need to discuss something with the court regarding this at
All right.
As soon as possible, I think, Your Honor.
All right, let me,
Before we do that, I'd like to mark the evidence and show it to the witness, and then we can have discussion at sidebar, if you don't mind.
I think that there may be a need to talk to you just before that's done, Your Honor.
all right, let me see here, over here at sidebar.
Your Honor, why is counsel trying to stop us from introducing the evidence?
Wait,
This is already...
wait, come on over here. With the court reporter, please. All right, thank you, counsel. Ms. Clark, you have some items you wanted marked for identification purposes.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you.
What are those?
For the record, Your Honor, I removed this manila during the huddle. I removed the envelope that is a manila envelope from a sealed plastic bag, which contains slides. Each of the cardboard items are slides. And this brown bag, which is currently sealed. And I'm not going to remove the item at this time. I need plastic gloves.
Mrs. Robertson, as usual, is prepared. Let me have Deirdre get some gloves.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Yeah, we've been through this before. And we now have bags as well. Do you want to mark that larger manila envelope and its contents?
Yes, Your Honor. The larger manila envelope contains a brown black bag, which contains a blue cap. What I'd like to do is place the cap into a plastic bag and the glove into a plastic bag, if it pleases the court.
All right, Mrs. Robertson, do we have some clear plastic bags?
Detective Lang, I'm showing you now.
Yes, you may.
And out of that, I asked you to mark people's next in order, people 74? 77.
People 77?
I'm removing it from the brown bag, showing it to you now. Without touching it, sir, can you tell us if you recognize the item that I've just shown to you marked as people 77?
It appears to be the glove that I observed at the foot of Mr. Goldman, yes.
I'm going to ask that the bag in which it came be placed in a separate plastic container, Your Honor, and that it go as people 77A.
All right, 77A. Plastic bag containing the brown paper bag.
I'm showing you now the contents of this brown paper bag, sir. We'll remove them, place it on top of the bag, and ask you...
Excuse me, Mr. Cochran, I think Mr. Douglas needs to talk to you.
Sir, do you recognize what's shown to you there?
Yes, that also appears to be the blue knit stocking cap I observed near the glove.
At 875 South Bundy?
Yes.
I'd ask that this be marked people 78.
All right, people 78.
And in a separate bag, the brown bag that we found it in.
All right, 78A will be the brown paper bag.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
I can move into another area, or what's the court's pleasure?
All right, do you need any of the other items that we have here? Are you going to show any of those things to Detective Lang at this time?
Not right away.
All right, then we're going to take our recess at this point, but hold on just a second. Let me see counsel with the court reporter, please. All right, thank you, counsel. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to stand in recess for the weekend at this time. Please remember my admonitions to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves. Don't form any opinions about the case. Don't conduct any deliberations on the matter till it has finally been submitted to you. Do not allow anybody to communicate with you regarding the case. All right, we'll see you back here. As I'm sure the bailiffs have told you, and if you recollect that Monday is a court holiday, President's Day, and we'll see you back here on Tuesday, 9 o'clock. All right? Thank you very much. And Detective Lang, you are excused until Tuesday, 9 a.m. Thank you, sir. Concerned for the week. Mr. Hodgman, Mr. Blazier, is there anything we can we need to put on the record? And Mrs. Clark, you are going to repackage those items that you just introduced, or that you just identified?
Yes, there is no issue with respect to that. I just wanted to indicate which goes to what. The brown bag I'm holding here.
Wait.
Anything we need to do to begin this change?
I'm not going to touch anything. I'm identifying. Identifying. Relax, Mr. Scheck. It's okay. All right? People get excited.
What would you like to have replaced?
Really? Okay. The bag that's identified with the number 38 on it, I'm going to leave this for Mr. Clark to do. It's identified with the number 38 is for the cap.
That's 78A.
You mean 78?
Right. So 78, which is the cap, is going back into 78A and into whatever container it likes. The glove was initially in, the glove that is 77 was initially in the bag contained in 77A.
All right.
which has the number 37 written on it.
All right, the court noting for the record that the authorities dealing with biological evidence indicate that the placing in plastic containers is not the appropriate packaging material for biological evidence.
Let the record reflect also, though, that none of these bags have been sealed.
Noted.
And then I'm handing it all over to Mr. Clark.
Make a request that
Mr.
The
Scheck?
gloves, they be placed back in the original packaging, and that the plastic bags that contain each item also be
All right.
preserved.
Included in the packaging, certainly.
I hope I don't have to be packaged, Your Honor.
I'm handing Mr. Clark a pair of rubber gloves, Your Honor.
All right,
And I have
noted.
here also the plastic bag out of which we took the bag containing the ski cap, item number 37, still contains the slides of the hair and fiber that were examined by the defense and the prosecution. I'm going to ask leave of the court to place that back into the manila envelope that has the number 38 on it and replace this item, this manila envelope, back into the box from which it was removed.
All right.
I would request that we reseal that and initial it and date it. Oh, yes, and if it might be okay, could we just show it to the defendant?
Sure.
Just show it to the defendant before you reseal it. And I would ask that when Mr. Clark repackages the items, that he changes gloves each time and handle it when he handles each item.
No objection. All right. Now, is there anything else we need to put on the record? And Mr. Blazier, Mr. Scheck, you're going to submit to the court a removal order.
I have it right here.
Who's going to reseal the box, by the way?
The box will be returned to the clerk after the items have been exhibited to the defendant, and then the clerk will reseal the box.
We would ask that one of us remain to watch as...
Oh, I'm going to order that all of you stay here till it's done.
Oh, not me.
Not us, Your Honor.
All of you.
You let Mr. Cochran and Mr. Shapiro go.
They were ordered by the supervising judge to appear in his courtroom.
Me too.
No.
Well, he probably does want to see us too when you think about it.
All right, I'm going to order that the Mr. Clark, Mr. Hodgman, Mr. Blazer, and Mr. Scheck remain for the DNA or biological evidence materials. Anything else we need to take up on the record, Mr. Hodgman? All right, Mr. Darden, Ms. Clark, you're excused. Have a good weekend.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Oh, Your Honor, it's-
Oh, sorry, Mr. Bailey?
I'd like to take up this 1335 now, the affidavit's coming in as we speak.
All right, well, let me finish with the DNA problems first.
Right.
All right, Mr. Hodgman?
Well, we have one miscellaneous matter, Your Honor, that I would like to bring to the court's attention, and I'll provide counsel with some copies, and if I may, I'll approach the
Please.
clerk with some copies of an item as well.
Madam Reporter, how are you doing? Thank you.
To the court a document which bears the heading, amongst other things, subpoena for appearance of witness, and it appears to be addressed to one Jill Shively, and in the box marked special instruction to witness on-call status Cato investigation. I'm here, this particular item was faxed to our office, and I want to tell this court, and I want to tell all who may be listening, that this subpoena is not an officially authorized subpoena from our office. It was not sent by our office. There is no such Cato investigation. This was never sent by our office to Ms. Shively. We are conducting an investigation to find out how in the world someone got a hold of a subpoena such as this and appeared to have doctored it in order to create the document before you. This has been brought out in the media, I am led to believe, and I want this court to be aware that this is not an official document of any sort. It was not issued by our office, and I'm letting the defense know that as well.
All right. Interesting, the facsimile date on it and location.
One from Orange County, and two from West LA.
So, to the extent that that is of concern to anyone, it need no longer be a concern. We do have the matters regarding the transportation.
Back on the witness list, I take.
We still have the matters regarding the movement of certain property items, and if we could approach,
Sure.
we'd be happy to address that. And then there's one additional matter I need
Have
to
we
take up.
resolved most of those items?
I believe so. We'd like to approach with the people who've been in touch with that and handling that particular aspect of the case, but I think we can assure the court that something I've described as being akin to the logistics involved with the Normandy invasion, well, it's apparently we're landing, all boats are landing, and it appears to be working.
Okay, we'll give it a code name, Operation Overlord.
Very well.
All right.
There is a matter that I need to address with the court and counsel in chambers with the reporter.
All right. All right, is there anything else we need to do? Let's take I guess we can do that matter as well, Mr. Bailey. All right, anything else?
With regard, Your Honor, to the change in the bags to their original state,
Yes.
District Attorney Investigator Mike Stevens has been asked by me to perform that task.
All right, and I'll allow counsel to observe that while we do that. Although my recollection is we are also going to exhibit these items first to the defendant before we repackage them.
Very good.
All right, then we'll stand in recess. I'll allow that to happen here in open court. And then counsel, when I'm going to give the court reporter a 10-minute recess. When you're done with this, let me know, and we'll take up those other matters in chambers. All right, we'll stand in recess, 9 o'clock, Tuesday, the 21st. Thank you, counsel.